conditions and way to approach the team fight that much more linear, which then makes counterplay, that much easier on the other side of the table. I agree. We'll see if we can find a middle ground as we have battleground number 3 for these two teams. Team Freedom, after the loss, is going to stick with the map selection here. Going to Infernal Shrine, their second, or, actually their highest priority battleground for the most part here. That and Shrines go back and forth, but either way, they're still sticking to home turf.
Well, this is a map where they kind of were known for picking up on that macro play. I think this is things that definitely suit them well. If they want to go into the Hanzo, they want to go into the Greymane, they want to go into the Tassadar, any number of those things complement well here. You want to play a little bit more passive with the Johanna, you can play that here. Things of that nature can definitely work, but what I want to see, maybe you can pick out the D.Va. This is a map where D.Va kind of had shown before, but maybe pick up the Arthas if you're there. Maybe pick up the Blaze if you're going to try and get that in an early rotation. Allow Nasmus to allow that back line to kind of control the front line, allow them to work, and I think that's where it lies. You win the Punishers, and that's when their macro comes in.
And on the other side of the table here, if we had any weakness on the side of Tempo Storm, we thought it was going to be Glaurung's Hero Pool, talking about the first pick advantages, talking about some of the others. In Game 1, we got the Sonya to come out. Let's be real here. Infernal Shrines, you could high Sonya and not be, kind of punished very easily within this draft. So if that is something that Tempo Storm looks to rely on, they've got to be thankful that we go to Shrines. Bit of another blooper here. We'll be getting that draft ready ASAP for you guys because, I want to see this unfold. Team Freedom, it's going to be, it's really hard to imagine that this series would go 3-0. In my head going into it, I know that Freedom has moments of kind of struggle here. Yes, Tempo is a bit of a tear, but then we had that blooper against Team 12, and then you're like, ooh, it could be a little bit closer. Will Freedom have it? But it just feels like Freedom is very much, kind of in that identity area. What do they want to be playing? What are they looking to make happen?
I just have a feeling Maev's not going to happen. They've let it through in 2 drafts. Let it through in 2 drafts. Willingly let it through because we saw the first pick obviously go the other direction. Medivh, you can always fall back on to give to Yoda. He's been a phenomenal Medivh player at times when he's needed to be, but it's not been kind of an every game hero because, one, he's not let through. Even before the changes, we didn't see a ton of Medivh. So I think if you do get that, but you ban the Maev, you keep the Medivh off the battleground. But with that pick, I think the scary part is that you're now second pick, which means you're also second ban. And if we see a ban onto anything other than Maev or Medivh on the side of Tempo, one of those is going to be yours. Are you willing to give up the Medivh or are you willing to give up the Maev?
What if I say neither? I'd rather just no to both of those heroes. I feel like the Maev going through, I agree with you. I don't think there's any way they let that happen. We talked about it in the last draft pretty heavily at the top end. I feel like it was a beyond risk for Team Freedom, even with the idea of like maybe we're baiting them into something. Can we get the counter picks afterwards, knowing that the Maev is going to be a bit predictable? But Psalm, I would say, is sitting at, if he is in our best, I would say, number 1, 2. I feel like him and Arth are the most standout Maevs that we currently have right now. And the level of play and performance that they have, and more importantly, the impact that tethers are going to have. They hit multi-tethers many times throughout a game, and more often than not, what their team does too is they work well with Maev. There's almost always a Malfurion route sitting there, a Condemn afterwards, something where it's here's pull 1, here's pull 2. Maev on her own, not that scary, but with anything else, she is a massive, massive threat.
After today, Kira putting his name in the hat as well as in terms of those Maev players making a lot of big plays for Team 12 earlier. If we don't get the Maev and you're on the side of Tempo Storm, things that you do play well with is the Tychus that we saw last game. It's something that Fan has approached many times, does well on this battleground. There's an outside shot. We might see a June Alex Straza, which I know there's some hit or misses there. At times does well on the Shrine. It's been a while since we've also seen a Ragnaros from Tempo Storm, but it's something that they've played on many battlegrounds, and this is one that we've also seen Glaurung play a lot of in the early part of the year. I don't think we've seen him play it since the Clash.
We haven't gotten any Ragnaros post-Clash.
Probably, yeah, post-Clash. So I always feel like that's a fallback option if need be. So we'll see if any of those spring up.
I don't believe, maybe we got one wild game, I think out of like maybe Goku or something, but definitely not here. From Freedom, because I was always actually, coming from that bystander perspective, moving into commentating here in part number 2, I was very, surprised at how much Ragnaros we had here in North America for some time. And then I was like, Western Clash, we're ready to go, and I didn't see a single Ragnaros. And I was like, Eastern Clash, maybe we'll get one, not a single one, and still kind of lost here in North America so far. Here we go, Tempo Storm, match point for them. Where are we going to kick this draft off? Diablo has been a common ban for both of these teams as that kind of go-to Ritter if they won't want to take away the Maev Medivh kind of conundrum. Genji was another one we saw in game number 1. Tempo's going to stick to that route.
So Team Freedom, do you want a Maev or do you want a Medivh in your face? And I think that for them, If they ban Medivh here, Maiev isn't necessarily a first pick by Tempo Storm as we saw before. But is Team Freedom, if they get that option,
do they pick it?
Do they pick it? I think that's the scary. The Tempo's not going to.
Yeah, they don't waste it. Going to lock it in for themselves. The reason I think, you know, you were probably kind of hinting towards maybe not Maiev is because this map specifically, it's not that Maev's bad at the Infernal Shrines by no means. It's just that because she's so teamfight focused and there's other ways to play around it, it does kind of go, maybe you're putting a little bit too much in that area. But granted, I mean, it's Maiev. Again, she is very deadly, very lethal. Blaze Tyrael being picked up from Freedom. We talked about that. Yeah, that's when, that was really week 1 of part 2, so week 6 in total out of phase 1. We saw Freedom really stick to the Blaze Tyrael.
It gives a lot. You know, Tyrael does well trying to deal with the Maiev on the front line. We saw a lot of stun, a lot of lockdown, obviously, but Blaze as well. I mentioned I want to see a Blaze. If you're not going to get Blaze, maybe go down the Arthas route. I feel like Dahaka obviously fails in a few things when you have the Tyrael up at the front line. You need somebody else to have some type of CC in that area. So I think Blaze takes care of a lot of that. Now, I wonder with Tempo Storm, we saw them stay away from some of that front line, ended up with the Blaze. Will they be forced to go into the Dahaka here for fear of it maybe getting banned out by Freedom? But this is another good map for Sonya.
I would like letting it go through. Okay, they're going to commit to the Sonya. I would say you either let it go through and then be willing to pick up whatever's left over on the back half, or you end up, you know, committing more towards the map itself. Like in this type of situation, we see them lock in the Sonya. Like if you commit to the Dahaka, that's going, oh, I'm worried about the offlane, which again, I think you can wait for that. But if you're going to be overly proactive, consider the Shrine. And also, you know, I like the fact that we do end up getting that Garrosh, though both of those kind of, you know, delay tactics that the heroics of Bunker and Tyrael Sanctification can provide. And Tyrael does do pretty well. Still having somebody to make Tyrael second guess his positioning. We often talk about the Tyrael as a response to the Garrosh, but Garrosh does make Tyrael second guess a lot of his playstyle too. And so I think it's a nice answer here for Tempo.
I almost wondered if Tempo might be willing to pick up the Tracer, as we saw Team 12 do it earlier on this battleground, but it looks like they're actually trying to take that away from Team Freedom, limit them. Now, if you're Team Freedom, Genji and Tracer, that is Lutano's hero pool, which going into the Western Clash, I think he had only played 5 heroes, but there was so much priority on the Hanzo, obviously, and the Genji. Greymane comes to mind, but that's also been a big hero for Yoda. Jaina, also something to consider, but against this composition of a Sonya Maiev, might be a little bit too tough.
Into Maev's high amount of bursts is definitely something I would want as a counter response to her, because even if you can't survive the cage, at least you can hopefully, you know, make your team successful in trading out. Something like the Jaina maybe kind of caters to that play style. I don't love it, but I'm just, you know.
If it wasn't for a certain player that we had in EU, I would say that this hero probably not. But if we look at this battleground against a bunch of melee, there's one hero, a mage style, that does really well against a bunch of melee.
Are we talking about Kel'Thas?
Talking about Kel'Thas.
And are you talking about Mene?
And Mene. He's a pretty good mage player.
I just didn't know if you were hinting at Mene. I definitely got the Kel'Thas on the shrine, so it was just like, you know, we got a lot of mage players in the EU. Far more than North America, for that matter. Alex Straza still picked up here for Freedom after that second ban phase, opting into that over the Malfurion for the second time.
I feel like we're going to get a Greymane here from, I don't know, we might see something else. I think a Greymane would likely be here for Fan, but if they want to change it up, not go too much dive, obviously the Tychus would have been it. Junkrat is still available here. I think Junkrat actually might be a little bit more conceivable than the Greymane.
The Junkrat doesn't play to the playstyle that they want with the Maiev Sonya, though. It doesn't have as much front-end burst. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
By no means is it terrible. You have a lot of macro control. Just why they're kind of probably, you know, holding off on that and maybe wondering what else can we get is just because, again, very much that. Alex Straza, though, has a hard time with Junkrat. Makes it even that bigger of a pick. Support lock in. Are we going to see the Malfurion? It's still up. June, pick up Mal.
Now, we need another damage dealer. We need something here. You already have good shrine control between the Tyrael, Blaze, Alex Straza, Tychus. Who's going to be the one to really control that front line? Who's going to be the one that can dish out some of that damage? Is it going to be a mage like Gul'dan, Jaina, something along those lines? Will it get a little bit wild with something else?
If you're going to go into a Gul'dan or a Jaina, I almost would rather the Gul'dan. It's going to be the Hanzo. Hanzo's a hero I will never say no to. On almost any map, almost any draft, I look at him right now as he currently stands and I'm still like, don't mind the pickup. But I still don't look at that and go, you know, so if it's just a solid damage deal there, I almost feel like some kind of mage poke around the Blaze. Okay, Blaze Tyrael really play to that slow play style. Tychus also kind of caters to a little bit of that slow play style. So does Hanzo, but Hanzo also a lot of his damage and kind of playmaking capabilities come through that all-in initiation out of the Dragon's Arrow. Even though his damage maybe isn't as single target bursty, depends on the build, depends on the part of the map as well, right? With Scattering Arrow, but there's I don't know. It doesn't all kind of play into that slow play style. And I would have liked to see them maybe mix something else like that Gul'dan, where it comes really high impact when you end up seeing that slow poke, and then suddenly Gul'dan, here's the Horrify problem. It's also a pretty good counter momentum against something like that Maiev, whereas I don't feel like we get that as much from, the Hanzo, because Dragon Arrow in your face, not the same as Dragon Arrow across the map.
Yeah. We see that, obviously, the Hanzo. I think the build that we've kind of started to settle in on here on Infernal Shrines is going to be that Redemption at 1, the Explosive at 4, and then the Sharpened Arrowheads at 7 to get that armor reduction. That seems to be the most likely. We'll see if we can get that. Garrosh, obviously, going to be dealing with a Tychus in his face, getting some of that percentage-based damage in against that really armor-heavy hero of Garrosh.
I wonder if there would be like, I'd be willing to play a brawl where just for the sake of so people could better experience how good armor is where Garrosh just didn't have any armor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's 3 Garroshes or something, and for some reason everybody else is like, here's Garrosh with our armor, and then be like, here's Garrosh with armor, and then suddenly everybody goes, oh man, this is a pretty cool tool.
Or
tool?
just
what did I just speak the English right there? What was that?
What if we just get all Garrosh? Just everybody tossing everybody. You only get level 1 and level 7. So you get into the fray and you have your own toss.
It sounds like it's visually cool, but when it comes to like my impact on the game, definitely not as satisfying. Hold up though, 2-man tether into that root concussion mine and a toss back. Nasmus on the other side of the battlefield here in Tempo Storm, body block it out to death. Drop down that E-star there from Fan, and that's first blood over to Tempo.
Maiev and Psalm, just I don't know what else to say. They're just making so many plays. The amount of displacement they have between the Maiev, between the Junkrat, between the Garrosh, very much major impact there in that first team fight. And if I'm Team Freedom, I'm staying away from it. Like, where are you getting the trade-off here?
Oh, man. This is even cooler. So remember how we always talk about Tempo Storm dictating rotations better than almost every other team? Collusion's just flat dead. No way out of this one. Did his best. But they're cutting off the rotations, they're getting kills, and then they're cutting off any attempt to kind of recover. So much so, I wouldn't even mind if, Team Freedom ended up kind of adapting right now and just going 2-1-2. Just going, hey, they're ganking bottom, okay, we'll go to the top half, try and apply a little bit of pressure. Because right now, I don't think it's going to gain them that much, but Tempo is dominating this bottom half of the map, and you cannot have that happen on a map like Shrines.
Blaze is really out, see, Tyrael might be a little bit out as well. That Aldruin's probably not the best direction, but probably didn't expect that
entire party. He was actually probably like anchoring or trying to gain vision, and then suddenly it's a party, and then he goes, well, I guess we'll follow up or something alike. Either way, things are just crumbling, really, on the side of Team Freedom. Tempo Storm on a tear right now, and then Freedom's got to find a way to gain that momentum. It's very important, again, to kind of hit the pause button in the laning situation, especially when you've drafted such a slow, kind of composition. You got to be able to play to that as well.
Things just so good in the favor. I'm sitting here, I'm trying to make sure. It's something I hadn't really thought about. Innervate a Maiev.
Yeah.
Just get the cooldown reduction right out of the gate. Do whatever you want.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's you want to increase the pace of the game. You want to increase the tempo.
Go ahead and get yourself an innervated Maiev, and Psalm will go ahead and bring Team Freedom over to your side and say thank you for that kill. It's been pretty cool. It also has other synergies with the, root itself. You can just get the tether into the root. Tempo Storm did end up picking up their Shaman camp. It's going to be split pushing on the opposite side of the map. That is detrimental here towards Team Freedom, as that bottom shrine is now just going to be spawning. Blade's probably going to remain in that top lane the entirety of this, so at least a 20 skeletal defender advantage is what you'd normally guess in this type of situation towards Tempo Storm. And even then, I don't know if Freedom can make the rotation out to deal with it. Maybe instead getting the collapse onto Glaurung. But onto that Sonya, able to keep up.
Good scatter arrow there, but too much health there. 23 skeletal defenders and counting already picked up here by Tempo Storm. This is where the Junkrat really comes into play, and they got so far behind the camp up at the top lane. They're going to have to concede this. Things are just going so well. Hanzo being threatened. Hanzo has to be super careful mid lane. Say Maev just one hop, skip, and a jump away.
Punisher up. Looking towards the bottom lane. Tempo Storm's got a 4 versus 3 here. Blaze still soaking off in the sidewall. Glorong's doing his best on the top lane. Bait over the wall. Maev going to follow up there. Sidewall to get the breakthrough in case things get ugly. Collusion already broke out the Dragon Queen there. That's a major cooldown. Something Tempo might try and capitalize on elsewhere. Maybe invade that Shaman camp on the top half. Try and abuse that.
Just getting the fort wall, but all the damage that's been done so far has led to this full level lead here for Tempo Storm. Team Freedom, you know, we did kind of have a little bit more of a neutral draft this go around, especially one that benefits the map. But this is something right there, what just happened with Tempo Storm, that quick rotation up to the mid lane. That's what Team Freedom was kind of known for in the early part of the year, kind of abusing that. But here comes a big jet propulsion.
Yeah, a lot of damage there. Healing thrown down from Collusion. The team can aggress forward. Cattle has to kite out. No nade there from Yoda. Fan even having the confidence to drop another spray as they retreat. I love that Fan walks around with the E-Star spray. It's really satisfying just knowing how much appreciation and respect he has had for some of the members on that roster, in particular Jingchen.
Definitely, I think they had a pretty mutual admiration because of how good both those players are on the international scene.
Cattle, flip, knock up. Psalm not even going to tether yet. Does he go for the follow-up in the shadow? Now that he's got June with him, he does. Root follow-up, not going to land maybe where they would like immediately. Now Cattle under pressure there, but Yoda stuck in that root, not going to get full bigger they are value. It's really interesting interaction there with June's root. It originally was not under the kill target, but then, you know, kind of stopped the advance enough to really not bring a threat in any front.
This is an unexpected Hanzo build for me. Just going into the scatter arrow build, getting the extra at level 1, getting the cooldown reduction at level 7 to make sure you can put more out. But I look at this battleground and I always kind of, I'm not saying it's a terrible build, and you know, late game you get the piercing, obviously it's going to be there, but in terms of like landing that scatter arrow build, it's got amazing kill potential.
Yeah.
But in terms of the objective, I feel like it's a little bit less in terms of that frontline control of peppering down the armor of a Garrosh. We've actually seen it pretty effective. We'll see how it plays out here. You know, it's not the worst build, as you said, Hanzo, kind of that every hero there, but change up from, I guess, what we've seen more recently.
Well, Yoda is now kind of on an island here. He will be able to make it out of that sidewall.
They're coming in for the flank.
Yeah, they are going to get the flank. Maev is going to get one shadow tether. Where's the root from Malfurion? It might be too far out. Here it is. Warden's Cage in. There it is. Twilight Dream. Good night, Team Freedom. If you want to know how to make a combo work, Tempo just put on a clinic.
6 kills to 0, 11 to 9 here. Tempo Storm just off to a phenomenal start here in game number 3, just kind of carrying up the pace from the end of last game, and obviously game number 1 going in their favor. For Team Freedom, though, however, they are approaching level 10. Things will start. Blaze actually bot lane Dread. Barely made it out alive. But with level 10, Team Freedom will have some available options to them. Odin has really good control. Using the Cleansing Flame will allow you to stay in these fights, and it will be a 10-tier versus 10-tier if Team Freedom can make it up here in time. So this is a good opportunity. They might be able to bring it back.
It's going to be very important that we see that here from Freedom. Because right now, things are just everything from almost the entirety of the series. Game 1 and 3 dominant from Tempo Storm. 2 a bit more competitive for a little bit there on the side of Freedom, but we're yet to see that here. It's got to happen over this. 4 skeletal defenders for Tempo Storm. Glorong now pulling back, realizing he doesn't have the squad. Tempo end up making a rotation to the bottom half. They have no interest right now. They're going to take this keep instead. Say, Freedom, you have to answer to us.
Nasmus the only one to hearth back on the Blaze there, so he will drop back. Again, no 13 here yet. They were kind of hoping they could get a full rotation. Looks like they're going to get 1 tower. I don't know if they're going to get much more. They have no vision on that shrine. The longer the Team Freedom stays, Lutano's finally come down as well. They might be able to defend this, but they're minimizing what Team Freedom's going to get out of this Punisher.
They are minimizing it, and I also want to highlight that this is only possible due to the lack of shrine control that Team Freedom have. You can pretty much keep track of, much like on Battlefield of Eternity, right? When the Grey Mane splits off and you're like, oh, I keep track of 4, oh, he's probably doing damage on top of it. You can do the same with the Skeletal Defenders. So you can keep track of how many are being picked up and just go, which one of them have enough burst to get this? Tychus is at the best, Hans is the next best. So you can keep track of that, look at, oh, if I see one, I know the other's got to be there. And it's very easy to kind of then control the transitions from Freedom. Tempo Storm, very clever play there and rotation coming out from them. And it's really kind of, you know, thwarted any of the success Freedom maybe was going to experience here.
Well, Team Freedom's going to find some success elsewhere as they've put a little bit of pressure into this bot lane. Lutano has to make sure he doesn't get flipped over. Cattle does, though. Concussion mine should be there, but the bunker goes down right as it explodes. He's alive for now.
The Sanct is not worth it if he ends up popping it. Will he? No, he does not end up using the Sanctification. Riptire gets the kill.
See if Zugura can get out of this one. This is going to be a tough one. There's the tether.
Can't even control Zero. That's a hands-off keyboard moment.
Tempo Storm, you know, they were willing to concede that top Punisher, and for good reason. It was a 12 versus 10 fight, no reason to risk it, find an opportunity elsewhere. You know, Collusion said that the synergy in the interview leading up to this, he said the synergy of Tempo Storm was insane. He said they had the macro, they had the full complement of tools at their disposal, and so far it's being shown in full effect here in this series.
Yeah, I did expect Tempo Storm to be the one to come out on top, but the dominance and, again, those small decisions, I pointed them out every time I've seen them. You know, that level of aggression and not letting anything up whatsoever is really, it's been impressive here from Tempo Storm. Question is, can they continue it here through Shrines? They pick up bottom camp. They have the 13 talent tier advantage over mid. Pick up the camp there as well. Kato might find himself in Nasmus. Glaurung goes in with the Ancient Spears, going to land that. Collusion throws down the heals.
I'm curious, Tempo Storm, the next shrine is going to be bottom. They already softened up that bottom lane. They'll be 16 by the time the next shrine phase comes in. They don't have to force their hand at any point, which it looks like they're going to be very aggressive without 13 and Blaze Tychus both showing bottom. This is an instant invade here for Team Freedom.
No holy ground opportunities because 13 is not even picked up. Zugrug, he's, you know, doesn't matter if you follow up on the Eldruins or not. Tempo's not waiting. They end up getting the flip, the taunt. It's a lot of damage. Now Cattle's in actually a terrible position. They're falling very low with the counter initiation. The Sanctification was enough. Now comes out the Riptire. Tempo Storm getting that aggressive invade, and now Team Freedom somehow getting the punishment back.
Such a big Dragon Arrow there. And look at the positioning from Collusion going directly into that Dragon Queen form right after the Cleansing Flame. Big time plays here by Team Freedom to get themselves back in this game. They're still not out of the woods, but this is some signs of life here for Team Freedom.
They brought the fight to Tempo Storm, and that is something we haven't been able to say for the first 10 minutes of this match. So very well done here. Team Freedom maybe get a little bit more as Psalm goes in, takes a lot of damage. You look at Glaurung there trying to poke them off, but the damage from the oil spill, follow up on the Shadow, and the Q not going to land from Nasmus. Psalm survives.
That was a guessing game because it's kind of like landing the cocktail. It's like, I know you're behind that wall, but I'm going to see if I can find you. Unable to do so. And now Team Freedom, I mean, they're feeling it, man. I mean, this is a rare form that we've seen throughout the day is that aggressive Team Freedom. They're moving forward, trying to find that. The problem, though, that they're going to run into is that 16 talent tier available. It's going to be here for Tempo Storm. Dragon Queen still going to be off cooldown, as is most likely Cleansing Flames. You're going to have to rely on the Odin and things like that to try and turn this around with this Punisher. Yeah,
but it's very likely that 16 talent tier is going to be way too much and that they have to give it up. Hold up, though. They're going to try and contest this. They go in, gets the two-man taunt. Garrosh has got the Twilight Dream behind it. There goes the Warden's Cage. A lot of healing coming out from Collusion, but it's not going to be enough to keep it alive. Nice Dragon's Arrow coming out. Yoda doing damage there with that Odin. Now coming out of the bunker, Glaurung kind of by himself for a moment. Tempo looking to back out, get a tap and force, but they're down a lot of skeletal defenders.
Team Freedom managed to survive in that. Yoda dishing out the damage. Sanctification here. They're trying to turn it. Glaurung gets blown up. All of a sudden, Team Freedom is catching fire right now. That is a big-time pickup here. That's also going to net them a Punisher, and this is going to be a much better prepared Punisher that we saw than the previous one that they picked up. So now, Team Freedom, hello and welcome to Sunday evening.
Team Freedom is here to play, ladies and gentlemen. Something just kind of took over that one skirmish, and now they are not letting up. Nasmus throwing out the slow, not able to find the jet propulsion follow-up there to that Punisher. Got to secure the bottom fort. Not enough for 16 talent here, but a key front wall very much will. Freedom has no interest. Immediately looking for possible double camp or at least mid-front wall. This is a moment where I really appreciate this decision-making because the map is so not open for Team Freedom. They have done nothing for the majority of it. That small victory, taking this keep bottom wall is only going to open up that one win condition. But if they can open up middle fort, top fort, you know, Tempo Storm suffering from the same problem. Bottom's the only one that's really been taken out. But this is a huge setback.
Nasmus, I'm not sure how he ended up here, but it's definitely not where he wanted to be. He's trying to turn this. Obviously, Psalm got pretty low.
I would stagger as long as I could, honestly, if I was Tempo.
If I'm Nasmus, I'm dying as fast as I can.
Yeah, I'd be just leaving him there in a corner and just being like, you know what, you're even in this game, but we're going to make sure that we can stagger this and then make sure we get something immediately after. We got 30 seconds without a blaze.
They've done quite a bit of damage. They almost took mid fort. It looks like they're going to be able to pick up top fort by way of the minions. So in terms of experience, they're not going to be that far behind. Both teams probably won't be 20 by the time the next shrine hits. So for Team Freedom, they've put themselves on fairly even footing. They haven't lost keeps thus far, but they have lost, for the moment, a little bit of that pace, that momentum that they had just a few minutes ago.
One thing you see there for a moment, though I don't think it costs too much there, you saw Psalm use the kind of shadow over get the damage onto those camps, and then everybody pinging there from Freedom because they can see it next to that fort. Just a tip for everybody at home, you know, if you want to hide that camp, do not end up spamming your E as the Maya. But Tempo Storm, they realized I mean, let's be real here. Freedom probably knew that was where they were. They're just like, we just capture this as fast as possible. It's not about hiding the information as much as it is getting it as fast as we can.
See Glaurung focusing on the Shaman camp. The next shrine phase, I believe, will be mid. Yeah, you can see it now on the minimap. So that top shrine will be a point of contention. You can see Garrosh anchoring there, looking for an opportunity. Junkrat, Malfurion lurking behind. Tempo Storm feigning so far. They've peeled Sonya off of theirs. They were potentially looking for a fight. That is the call. I believe that should have already been killed, just waiting for the capture.
In the downtime, Tempo here, looking up on mid. Lutana with a lot of damage there on that Hanzo. It was just, I think, one Stormbolt, maybe a scattering arrow. I think it was just a Stormbolt, and he chunked the heck out of them. Team
Freedom needs this shrine to spawn soon. Zugrug, the anchor. Cattle in one bush. Zugrug on the other. Zugrug now sees it. Eldruin's going down. Not enough for Tempo Storm to come forward as Junkrat's still bottom. Almost 19 to 18. Team Freedom's got some work to do.
Or are they going to make it happen? Top half Tychus is kind of left alone here. If he shows Tempo Storm, you know they're going to get aggressive. Psalm.
Yoda cannot be here, Dread.
That's like the last target that can stand in that type of situation. The fact Psalm hasn't checked that is honestly amazing. With the fact that, you know, the tether went down rather than up, I don't know. I guess you can guess 50-50. I will suggest that majority of the time, though, you do expect your opponent to sit closer to the middle of the map. That top half has such a kind of limbo area. It's one of the easiest to retreat and get it back in for free. So I would suggest, you know, kind of, again, one of those tips for at home, the top shrine.
This experience deficiency, that fort is so low, they're trying to poke it down to get a little bit of experience. Instead, they're going to be tossed right into it. Nasmus gets stuck in that root, and the fort finally falls. So experience not terribly far behind, but Tempo Storm almost at 20. They have to be very careful, does Team Freedom, in terms of how and when they approach this. They still have Dragon Queen. They still have Odin. Let's see if they can make it happen.
Tempo Storm may back out eventually at some point and try and push bottom with that keep. The Junkrat's kind of prepped out that wave a little bit here. He's not going to sit for another, or will he? We'll find out. Yeah, he's going to need another wave. Tempo might be able to make that rotation because they're down so many skeleton defenders now. 20 race is still on. Odin coming online here for Team Freedom. Yodin trying to zone out Tempo Storm. 23 skeleton defenders. Here comes Cattle with the flank.
Cattle gets the groundbreaker, but Nasmus instantly goes in. They'll still have the bunker available. It goes down, does Sanctification as well. Glaurung coming in, trying to make the big play. 32 skeletal defenders. Team Freedom needs this. They need it. Warden's Cage is there. It's locked in. Tyrael, who's going down. Nasmus somehow surviving for the moment.
And they end up getting that first kill now. Are they going to be able to get down on and get the kill on a Nasmus? Glaurung in a 2-versus-1, just trading huge up for Tempo Storm. Peel comes out for a moment. Nasmus trying to stick with the Punisher, use this as a protector.
He's like, look, I know.
Fan
making the big plays.
That mount. Oh, he stays up. Oh, great third nade there. That's enough. That's enough to get the kill purely because of that dismount.
But that Punisher is going to get a lot of value if they do not go back. The longer this is one of those times where before Staggered Death was there because the Punisher was already dead. This time the Punisher is alive. So buying a little bit more time for the Punisher, going to get them a keep wall. Almost. They're still going to be close to 20 and still no keeps down on the side of Freedom.
Yeah, Tempo Storm now should be looking to capitalize on the 40 seconds, you know, time advantage that they have. They don't have the best siege, good anti-siege on the side of Team Freedom. So middle fort inevitably will drop. They're going to paint the map blue as they pick up bottom camp and maybe something else. I don't know if sieging bottom keep, this is normally what I would call, but compositionally, I don't know if Tempo can get away with this. They have to pretty much all in. And that in mind, Tempo's not afraid to all in, but they just use Warden's Cage. So we're not going to see that Psalm all in, you know, kind of legendary initiation. And I think the, you know, Lutano off on the side getting the poke is going to be enough to deter Tempo. We'll find out. I know that Odin might be.
Yeah, big red button, obviously. You get the extra duration, but you get that big-time damage. They're going to use just that for the defense. This is a short enough cooldown on the Odin that it should be back in time for the next Shrine phase. Should they make it there, obviously, things can happen in the meantime. But the fact that Team Freedom has fought their way back in this game after an early deficit, they find themselves even in terms of talent tier and somehow still down no keeps because they've been able to steal a lot of those Punishers.
Double camp opportunity for Tempo, but this middle fort, unlike that keep, is not risky to dive past. So Tempo Storm should be able to bully this one down. And then a lot of this is going to fall over the next Shrine fight. Next Shrine's top. So if Tempo can find a way to manipulate that bottom wave to get that keep picked up for themselves again, I think it would be a very big, kind of play. But you got to consider what that Punisher is going to make happen there on top.
Dread Glaurung likes to make those big plays. We actually saw him land a huge Ancient Spear in the middle of that last fight, going composite spear at level 1. You see Psalm sniffing, Zogrug hiding in the bush. We'll cover that talent in just a minute as the Impalers and the minions push forward here in the mid lane.
Lutano gets knocked back. Tempo Storm just slowly sieging away. There goes Psalm with the Shadow. Anytime you see that, you can expect that Zogrug's going to try and capitalize on that. When that cooldown's down, that's when we want to try and force this fight, if they do ever want to. Zogrug seems to disagree now. Going to back out with that drones over the wall. The siege continues here for Tempo Storm in the mid lane.
There's one tether. No range, though, to be able to pull in enough to get that displacement. Now we see Tempo Storm. They're looking to steal the Shaman camp here. Hanzo has shown at the bottom. Let's see if we get a big Dragon Zero, maybe an invade. Team Freedom, though.
Blaze isn't there, though. He
unwilling
can't
to commit.
Yeah, unable to make that rotation. Okay, so this next Shaman camp for Tempo, their Shaman matters and when they cap it, and I would actually like them to cap it early and prep it probably here. Bottom wave is set up just fine, and somebody on like Hanzo is going to make that right now. Capping this as fast as possible, then you can make that rotation down to the bottom half of the map while the members of Freedom are dealing with that if you're going to ever make that play. Capturing it, even timing, other than that, has zero advantage whatsoever other than providing you vision control for a small time period over this top altar, or top shrine, excuse me.
You could see on the minimap, Junkrat cleared out that bot lane to make sure that those minions could go forward. See if that does stack up. I believe the next minion wave won't be there in time. But again, that is something that could potentially stack up, especially with the new minion wave spawning. Either way, we've got ourselves 22-20, 21 here shortly for Team Freedom. See how this fight goes. It will all potentially come down to this as Kato goes directly on the toss in. See if we get the bunker. Can it go down before Zogrug falls?
He's got Sanctification available. He didn't have to use it. Now Kato's extremely low. He's backing out completely. Odin and Dragon Queen were used on the side of Freedom, but Sanctification is there, and that is a lot of what their composition needs to hold its own. But Tempo did not pull too much themselves. Kato waiting on the side. Going to move forward, try and cut off the escape here of Team Freedom. 17 skeletal defenders. Lutano's on an island, man. He needs help. The team is not going to be able to help him out. They leave him to die here, essentially, on this track. There goes out the Riptire. Can it knock him out? It will not. He makes it alive.
But now he has completely split. Do we get a play? Do we get a play? We're going to see right now. See if the Dragon Zero becomes a thing. Sanctification is down, as is the Cleansing Flames. They are out. Hanzo starting to make his way back into this fight, Dread.
Glaurung ends up getting on the back line, though. Yoda's going to rip through that pretty quickly. Glaurung falling below 50% HP. There's the Dragon Queen again. Sanctification, or Twilight Dream goes off. Tyrion's able to keep himself up. Tempo Storm gets the Punisher to join in, punches June to death, and they're falling apart in this skirmish. Tether comes in, but Collusion and friends are just fine. They already have 2 members of Tempo dead. They're going to win this fight.
If they win this fight, Dreadnought, this could potentially be game. This Punisher now all of a sudden looks far more terrifying. Psalm's going to go down. 4 members on the side of Tempo Storm. Kato somehow barely surviving. Lutano, see if he makes the big play. The Dragon. Oh my.
My armor. He keeps himself alive with the 49, but here is the Punisher. 38 seconds till anyone on Tempo Storm is going to be joining. Another 45 until all 5 members are up. I don't think they can hold off here. Team Freedom is looking to send us to a game 4.
See if we get Odin back in time for the potential final siege. Kato has to try and bait this over, even maybe sacrificing himself with the keep already down. The Punisher sitting at 69%. There's the Odin, there's the big red button. Kato is there. He's taunting everybody, but he taunts the Punisher as the Punisher rains down, and that is going to be Team Freedom. Somehow in the middle of this game, Dreadnought, Team Freedom woke up and they said, let's go.
They did not stack the counter momentum, I would argue, over that middle initiation. And from that point on, with the Blaze, with the Sanctification, not utilizing, one on top of the other. And whenever they get that, there is not enough initiation between the Garrosh, between the Mayav, and the Twilight Dream to make sure they get that Wombo combo. Tempo Storm struggling on the back half of that game, but by no means was that Tempo's crumbling. You know, that was very much Freedom
man.
coming to life. You could see it too. Once they get that one fight, the Cleansing Flame descent from Collusion, I mean, that's like not the craziest decision making in the world, but it was mainly every move they made, they get one victory, and it's like, okay, suddenly he's picking a fight as a support, right? Then you look at what they do afterwards. They're trying to gank, get an invade, and you're like, where was this the first 10 minutes, Team Freedom? They were just constantly playing passive, letting pick after pick happen, but then a flip on a switch somewhere along the lines. And the most important thing, though, is that flip cannot go, or that switch cannot get flipped back here, Jay.
Yes.
You cannot get that crank down. Otherwise, we may see, you know, what we saw in game 1 and 2.
Nasmus, though. There were so many bunkers. Tyrael's going in. He's like, look, I know you're going to have a hard time getting the Sanctification down, but bunker doesn't have that channel time. So he got the bunker down. There were multiple times where Tyrael's like, look, I need this escape route. They saved Sanctification. There was the overlap on that one, but there were several plays. A big focus for me has been Nasmus, not so much in his play, but in his hero pool. Having the Blaze Tyrael in here on that front line control, allowing the rest to do that work. This is the type of Team Freedom that I've seen. We see one end of the spectrum, we've seen the other. Here, we've kind of met in the middle. You play around the macro, you have that front line control, you play into the objective, but you also have the team fighting capabilities. This is the Team Freedom that we've known to be the dominant force in the early part of the year. They've come back to it here in Game 3, but as you said, they cannot afford to flip that switch off. Not the all-in compositions, not the passive composition of just hook and pray. This is we're in the middle. We know we can control the front line without giving up too much. We set up what we need, and then we capitalize on the rest with Lutano and Yoda on the backside. This is the team I like to see from Freedom.
The question